realized at around age 12 that I didn't like myself. So how was I expecting everybody else to like me and connect?
Okie dokie, dokie dokie, doo 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 doo, doo 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 doo. Hello, Wayne. Good to see you. How goes your adventures? Oh. I knew that was going to happen. I've been good. I'm feeling. I've had some adventures and some rough patches and some confusion, but right now I'm feeling on track. I wonder if this is working, the backlighting. I'm trying it from a different angle now. Hard to tell. It would be easier to tell without the hat on, but that's all right. Last day of work, April 15th. That's exciting. What job are you leaving? Let's see, 12:58. I did very little linking today because I'm a little under the weather. Normal life, exactly. Let's see. Oh, do I keep drinking this coffee or do I just plan on going to sleep? I'll keep drinking. Almost 1 o'clock, my goodness. All right, let's do this. Okay, dokie. Yeehaw! Let me get my windows back. I have so many windows and so many tabs open. I bet if there was police that would crack down on this kind of thing, I would face the penalty. Welcome, Melissa. Full-time photography and travel. Man, you are a ballsy specimen of humanity. Bravo, Wayne. Love to hear that. And welcome, Melissa. Welcome anyone else that's here. As I said a minute ago, I have not done a whole bunch of promotion today. I've not posted this on Facebook except for in the Hug Nation group, and have not tweeted or anything like that. I'm a little under the weather. I woke up a little scratchy-throated, fuzzy-headed, so we'll probably do a little bit of a shorter broadcast today. And if anything comes out in the archive, we'll put the archive up and link to that. Otherwise, we'll just have a little cozy gathering. It was crazy stormy here this morning, like wake you up kind of weather, which is cool looking out of the ocean. I love stormy sea. Now it's sunny, but the sea is still super white cappy and beautiful. Okay, let's take a break or take a moment to get centered, focused in this moment, to get present. Tune into your body and its sensations. Feel your chest and belly rise and fall with a breath. Thank you for all the blessings in this moment. Amen. Welcome. I'm Halcyon. This is Hug Nation. Thank you for spending this time with me in this virtual space, this digital time. Doesn't matter if you're listening to this live or on archive, we are a gathering of intention, and that can happen beyond space and time. So if you're watching this in the future, tell me what's happening. Okay. So this topic came up a few times in media that I've been consuming, listening to Radiolab and This American Life. There were a couple stories that came up about the rights of the body. There was one story about pregnancy surrogates and another story about kidney donors. And the stories were about all the crazy processes and the ins and outs and all the organizing and the cross-country issues that come up. But I started thinking more and more about just the morality of it. Now, to explain a little bit more, so surrogate pregnancy is when a couple cannot biologically have their own children, so they pay a woman to take a child to term. So in the case of this one story, it was a gay couple, and there are agencies that will procure an egg for you. You give them your sperm, they fertilize the egg, and then they find a woman to carry the child or the embryo and hopefully to term. And the eggs, if you want a white baby, come from Eastern Europe, and the uteruses generally come from third world countries. And the cost is different depending on what country that you go to. The story that they covered in Radiolab was an Indian surrogate woman who was then moved to Pakistan because it's illegal in India. It was legal in Pakistan, and the men couple were Israelis. So, woo, crazy stuff. And now it's illegal in Pakistan, and actually being a surrogate is illegal in many countries. It is still legal in the US. It's also very expensive in the US, which is one reason why I am looking into donating my uterus. Not donating, but, hiring it out. My doctor and I are in a little bit of a tiff, him saying I don't have the means, and me saying I can do anything I put my mind to. So I'll let you know how that turns out. And then the story about kidney donors was that kidney donation is legal, but it is illegal to pay someone. In fact, there's so much fear about there being organ trading and organ, the idea of a financial reward to selling and trafficking organs, that they've actually, you can't even pay someone for their trouble, really. And there's a huge waiting list for kidneys. They're saying that it's, I think, up to 5 years is the waiting time. No, is that what they said? Let's think about that. They said there's, like 100,000 people waiting for kidneys, 5-year waiting. Most people waiting for a kidney will die. And that's true all around the world, except in Iran. And that's because in Iran, it's legal to sell your kidney. And so there is a government kind of dictated set price, and then you negotiate, buyer and seller, and they figure out what a fair price would be, and you can haggle. And the West sends, but like that's barbaric, that's horrible. And so the story on, I think it was This American Life, they actually went and talked to people in Iran, and nobody seemed to think they were being exploited. In fact, there were people that were saying, this is my one chance. Like if they don't let me do this, I'm gonna have to go to a life of crime. I might have to kill someone to feed myself and my family. This is like the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. They also mentioned that the kidneys, if you lose one kidney, your remaining kidney will grow up to 50% larger, and it's, all things considered, a fairly safe surgery, as far as open body cavity surgeries go. Okay, so those are the two stories that I saw, and then it made me think about all the aspects of body politics that we have laws about, whether that is abortion, whether that is helmet laws, whether that is drug laws, prostitution, suicide. Like we have all of these aspects of body politics, body rights that the government legislates. And it seems to me, or my opinion, is that the government's job is not to protect us from ourselves. The government's job is to make sure that we are able to make informed decisions, and we have the freedom to make those decisions. Now, when our decisions impact the whole, then the government is able to push back and say, you don't have a right to, drive your car without the lights on while you're drunk, because it has impact on the rest of us. You don't have the right to ride without a helmet because we've had so many head injuries that there is a impact on our healthcare system and on the expenses of that's taxing the system as a whole. So we have to legislate that. Not because we care if you're a vegetable, your decision will impact all of us. And that's the libertarian way that I think that we should be really pursuing. I don't want, and I don't trust the government to make those decisions. I mean, clearly they are not trustworthy if we have things like tobacco is legal, alcohol is legal, and far less harmful things are not. We have pharmaceuticals that, because of mistakes or abuse, kill people all the time. I just read someplace that, I think I think the Western medical system is like the third largest killer of, how do they phrase that? Anyway, the point is a lot of people die simply because of following the rules in Western medicine. So we don't have this, if we're going to be protecting ourselves from ourselves, we have a very skewed and biased line we've drawn in the sand. And I think that it's very influenced by finance. If there's money to be made, then the government's going to think twice about legislating against it. Actually, I take that back. The government doesn't care. The government, however, does listen to those that contribute to campaigns and those that have infiltrated into our currently corrupt monetary system. Currently corrupt electoral and faux representative system. So I understand why we have laws, or at least have guidance about suicide, for example. I believe in the right to die, but I also think that, sure, we want to make some sort of provision so that everyone that gets depressed can't just go to the liquor store and get a euthanasia pill. You know, that would be a dangerous thing to do, to not put some checks, like, okay, you have to get a doctor's note saying, yes, I'm not depressed. I no longer think my quality of life is worth it, so I'm done. But to force people down a certain path of morality is the opposite of freedom. And who's to say that, like if giving up a kidney and taking that risk could make the difference between being in debt, living month to month, barely scraping by for the rest of my life, versus getting $100,000 to invest in myself, would that be worth taking a chance? I mean, are there consequences? There could be major consequences. There could be minor consequences. There could be minimal consequences. But there are crazy things that you can do, really dangerous things you can do that the government doesn't protect you from. You can work in a mine. You can work construction. You can join the military and go to war. If I wanted to make $5,000 this weekend, I could be the recipient of a gangbang porno movie, and that would be legal. Now, I couldn't go be a high-paid escort. That would be illegal. See? Let us make informed decisions. And then again, about informed decisions, we don't label GMO food, which is the entirely opposite. That we're not even allowed to make an informed decision. We don't have the information. So the government should help us and put things in place so that we know the risk. Like, whoa, before you donate a kidney, you've got two, right? But this is the worst case scenario, and you should know that you're taking on a huge risk. I mean, they should do the same thing, if you try to join the military. Whoa, that we could send you to a foreign country into a war that no one's going to support, and you could give your life and come back and have massive emotional trauma, and the suicide rate, your chance of suicide will go up dramatically. You know that, right? That's okay. Cool. Your choice. You want to make the decision, and we appreciate your service. Thank you very much. In the same way that if you gave away a kidney, thank you for your service. You are saving someone's life. Imagine if someone was on the edge of suicide. Imagine if we had something in place. Hey, before you kill yourself, before you jump off a bridge, before you take a bunch of these pills, entertain this thought. If you want to give away a kidney, you could save this teenager's life, get $100,000, and maybe totally transform your perspective of who you are in the world. You will have saved someone's life and potentially be absolved of a financial burden that you never thought you could get out of. It's almost immoral to not let somebody have that choice. I bet the suicide rate would change, and we would save the lives of people who never get a donation. That's it. I'm donating both my kidneys. First one to email me and says, please, can I have your kidney? Even if both your kidneys are working, they're yours. Done. I feel great about myself, even just considering it. Okay. So I am going to continue to urge the government to stop the paternalistic tone of deciding what's best for us. And that goes for drug use, our use of the body, our use of our uterus. Okay, I don't really have a uterus. The use of one's uterus, the use of our mind, the use of our physical abilities, whether that be our strength or our intellect or our reproductive organs. That is our domain. And as long as we're not tricked, and as long as we know what we're getting into, the whole point of freedom is that we can make those choices. I believe in your ability to make the best choices, not so much any governing body in the world we live in currently. So I love you and your kidneys. Let's have ourselves a hug. Grab yourself by the shoulders. Be appreciative of this body, no matter how many kidneys you might have. Just take a moment to be grateful for this moment, each breath, each choice that we're allowed to make, even if it's wrong. There is no such thing as a wrong choice. There is the best we can do at the time and the lessons that it lets us learn. And just for a moment, let's sink beneath that decision-making and that thinking and just feel the energy of being alive. And know that all the people around the world have that same energy flowing through them. And we get beneath those decisions and those thoughts, those politics. We're all just thriving, bright beings. Let's breathe together for 3 breaths. Ready? Inhale. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the Love Warriors, happy Hug Nation. Thank you. I love you. And just so I have it on tape, you've been listening to the Hug Nation podcast. Thank you for listening. Videos are available on YouTube. I love you. Thanks, guys. All right. Oh, thank you, Christoph. Belgium, rad. If you missed the very beginning, I didn't do a whole bunch of promotion today, so thank you for remembering or finding your way here. A little bit under the weather, and my hair is in dreadful need of getting my roots done, so I'm just, ugh. Anybody feel like my comments about kidney donors is way off, or you think that, like, dude, we can't have organ donors because it will, I mean, I get that creating a market for organs, there are some dangers. For example, if someone could steal your wallet, what would keep them from stealing your kidney? However, bringing anything from the black market into the light is generally the way that you decrease the crime. So I'd be far less afraid of someone stealing my kidney if it was legal. You hear stories about kidneys being stolen, you know, in Bangkok bathtubs all the time. I guess they're stolen on a Bangkok operating table, and then you wake up in a Bangkok bathtub with ice all around you and a scar and wonder what exactly happened. Whoa! Bongo Drum says you donated your egg 6 times. Sweet. So what was that experience like? And did they give you information like, you know, do you know what you're doing and this is the possibility what will happen, or did they hit you over the back of the head and you wake up in a field somewhere with a headache and a feeling that you're a little less fertile? I actually tried to donate sperm. It's kind of a, should I tell that story? So, I was in college and I was looking into summer jobs, and I did a little bit of math and realized that, man, if I just donate sperm a couple times a month, I can make the same amount of money as if I was working a minimum wage job. So I was already ejaculating quite frequently. So this would not even be that big of a change in my already lazy and prolific masturbation. So I looked up and found a sperm donor place, and I went in, and they had me fill out all these forms, and then they said, I handed them to them, they sent me back to this room with a little vial. And I go in the room, and it's like a super sterile room, and there's like these well-worn Playboys in the room. Now, a Playboy is not the most erotic material, you know? I'm like, that's not gonna do it for me. Especially considering that I'm, in this hotel room. I mean, I wish it was a hotel room. I'm in this hospital looking room. I can hear people walking back right outside the door. And like, I practically, considering the sterile conditions, I practically needed, a big busty nurse just like begging me for my sample. And so with that in mind, I did produce a sample. And then I put the lid on this little thing and I leave the room. And there's probably never been a time in my life that I felt smaller and more humbled than as I'm walking down the hallway with this container just being like, it's like a huge neon sign, like, I just masturbated. And so I give them my sample, wait in the waiting room, they call me back. And so then they're going through my forms and like, ooh, okay, it says here that you're going to school. I'm like, well, I'm in summer right now, but yes, I'm in college. I said, oh, so where do you go to school? I go, Redlands. And where's that? I go, it's about 2.5 hours away. And they're like, well, we require a 6-month minimum of weekly donations. Now that's really not going to be possible, is it? I was like, no. Like, well, thank you. If that changes, come back to us. And that was it. And I walk out of the place. I'm like, couldn't they have told me that before I masturbated in their room? I should have asked for my sample back. All right, Bongo Drum saying, it was about a 1.5 month long process. The last 2 weeks, I had to go in for shots in my stomach every morning at 7 a.m. The 12th day, they put me under for surgery and then was out the same day. It was totally anonymous, and I don't know if there was any success, but I felt his doing it. And the money was nice too. I've heard that it can be a fairly lucrative and you can really help people that are seeking, as well as helping yourself. So kudos to you. You felt good doing it, and the money was nice too. Well, that's cool. That's another great example of the whole body politics thing. It is kind of interesting that, at least according to these stories on Radiolab and This American Life, that, the U.S. is fairly liberal when it comes to surrogates compared to the world. And most of the world is on the same page as far as organs. A lot of countries have cracked down on surrogacy once they realize that so many of the participants or the parents are gay couples, and that's pretty sad. You can only donate 6 times. Oh, interesting. So the 1.5 month long process, is that for one set of eggs, or the 1.5 month long to do 6 times? And that's just for women, right? Just kidding. I know how it works. I know that I don't have ovaries, right? I don't have ovaries, do I? Is that what these are? My ovaries get swollen when I get sick, right? Oh, so you've done a 1.5 months, 6 times. Wow. Do you mind sharing ballpark what you get paid each session? You don't have to. And does when you're doing it or in the breaks, do you have to change your behaviors? Can you do you have to abstain from sex or not drink alcohol or avoid witchcraft and voodoo, something like that? Because I don't do any process, I don't join any club or group. I have no affiliation with anyone that prohibits my ability to practice voodoo. 8,000 per shot. Nice. Well, that's, I mean, listen to this. So Bongo Drums says 8,000 a shot, and most of it went to school loans. So we have a system that will let this grotesque corporate structure suck money from its youth and cause them to be in student debt for the rest of their lives. We need to have, even if it takes us selling our bodies back, all right, I got a little frustrated there. It's like you almost have to legalize prostitution just so that students can make their money back to pay off their loans that they incur while going to college. I wonder if Bernie Sanders is elected and we do get free or affordable college for everyone, will there be a huge drop in prostitution? Because there will be so many young women that are not in such a struggling place. There's that. Take that, morality police. Oh, so you don't want Bernie Sanders, so you want more prostitutes? Is that what you're saying? Just for the record, I'm overwhelmingly in favor of legalizing prostitution. Bongo says, when the shots start, you can have sex until a week after your surgery. You're not allowed to exercise, do yoga, stretching because your ovaries grow to the size of an orange, and if you pull anything, your ovaries can twist. Whoa! So that's what I was talking about, right? That's when your ovaries twist. It's when you get swollen right there. To be fair, I am not a medical doctor. Do not take my advice. But I think you just massage your ovaries if you're trying to get pregnant, right? I think that's how it works. You can't have sex until a week after the surgery. Okay, that makes more sense. Muppet Unity Divergent, that's a great name. Saying that I don't think there'll be a drop in escorts or strippers, but there will be some. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a combination of many things. You know, whenever times are hard, the option of making money through stripping, dancing, escorting becomes more appetizing because it's good money, and it's hard to argue with. I mean, like I so get annoyed when people say like, oh, it's you know, it's what's the term that people not use? Not oppressive, but it's whatever the word is, oppressive maybe. But you know, we let somebody make that choice. You know, I think it can be pretty oppressive to work for 30 years, you know, at an insurance company in a cubicle. That sounds oppressive. Exploitative, yes. Exploitive. Exploitation, that's the word I was looking for. You got it, Noah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I do think that there is exploitation. I mean, the irony, I think, is that, pornography is legal. So a young man or woman can decide to be in pornography. That's legal. But they can't be an escort. If someone is an escort or a stripper or, a prostitute, that experience can begin and end within that chapter of their life. You could strip from age 20 to 25 and then stop, meet somebody, get married, and laugh about those days when you used to strip, or be proud of those days you used to strip. But if you are in a porn movie, one, you're treated way rougher. And there's a record of that forever. That's a far more damaging experience on someone's life. Also, well, it's changing now, but it used to be that, that protection is used always in escorting and almost never in pornography. But I digress. This is about kidneys. What I'm really passionate about is kidneys. Exactly, bongo drums. I mean, the morality reasons for making prostitution illegal is insane, because it's just like making drugs illegal. It doesn't stop people from from doing drugs. It doesn't stop people from hiring and paying for sex. It just makes the whole industry a black market one where exploitation is so much more possible. Why do people outside the system, runaways, get turned into turning tricks? Is because they're outside the system. They're lost, and there's these horrible, dealers, black market systems that they get fall into. You legalize it, and then the consumer is able to go, whoa, something's wrong here, as opposed to going, never mind, I'm not explaining this well, but I agree with you. Muppet Unity Divergent. Oh, I misspoke. If I was only comparing the decision to make a porn star versus the decision to be a stripper, and how that one decision is far more life impacting than the other. I'm absolutely in favor of the decision to be a porn star. I would be quite a hypocrite, I'll say that, if I was going to judge or criticize the decision to be in erotic entertainment. I have known many and made money from and been in front of the camera and behind the camera. So I just think that it's crazy to think that one is more protective than the other, when actually the going into porn is way more extreme for the body, as well as for the psyche, as well as for the longevity of its impact on your life. Now, don't go Googling trying to find those pictures of me, because you won't find them, I promise. It was a long time ago, and I was very clever. All right. We made it to 1:30. And I only, gosh, I thought it was going to be I'm a little under the weather, so I thought it was going to be a very mellow, short broadcast, and I instead told you about donating sperm, my pornography background, and possibly several other illegal activities that I should not have confessed to. So this did not go the way I expected. Hey, Skyhawk. 4chan would say otherwise about what? About erotica or pornography? Oh, or they wouldn't be able to find my images? Is that what you're saying? Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't doubt that. And I've never done anything illegal, so I was just joking. The only thing illegal that I ever did is one time I was in it was a 65-mile-an-hour highway, and I was going 65, and then there was a sign that said 55 zone, and I kept going 65 through the whole way, it was like through a town area, so it was like 10 minutes where I was like 10 miles over the speed limit. The whole time I was just like sweating and shaking. But I can't lie and say that I've not ever broken the law, because I have. Feels better to get that off my chest. Gotcha, Skyhawk. Yes, you're right. I should not poke the beast. Please, it is not a challenge. I am not asking anyone to discover my secrets. Thank you. It's true. I'm a rebel, much like Pee Wee Herman, who is having a new movie come out. Isn't that right? New Pee Wee adventure. Maybe he will delve into erotic entertainment in his new film. That would be exciting. I'd pay to see that. Although that would probably bring up old wounds for him. I forgot about why we lost Pee Wee for so many years. Right. Are you guys all too young for that? You know what happened to Pee Wee Herman? Why he went from a huge star into totally invisible for a decade? He masturbated in an adult movie place and got caught. And everyone thought that was uncool for a person making TV for children. But I kind of think it was an adult movie place. Isn't, by definition, should there be no children in there? Isn't that the perfect place to do an adult activity like masturbate? And yeah, all right, I'm sorry. I'm going to leave you alone, Pee Wee. Is there anything else I was going to mention today? Oh, let me just tell you about my kick-ass weekend. So Saturday morning, on my way to go to First Saturdays, I get a text message from a friend, and he says, and it's a photograph, and he's at the Burning Man theme camp symposium, and there's a picture of a person giving a presentation, and on the screen is a big blown up image of Pinkheart. And he said, they're talking about, good examples of theme camps. And I was like, oh my God, that feels so good. That's like having your kid go to the National Spelling Bee. I mean, this is like my child, my pride and joy. And to see that it's being held up as an example of what to do is like, oh God, that feels so awesome. So then I went to First Saturdays, and that was cray, because lately I've been struggling we get so many volunteers now that I don't know exactly how to put everybody to work necessarily. We've even been getting almost as many volunteers as we do homeless, and which isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's like, if people are there and they're like, I want to work, and like, okay, well, can you be in a team with these 3 people and you help do this, or these 5 people? Because we just don't have enough things to do. And so this weekend, 5 minutes before we even started, like 11:55, this crew of people in red shirts starts filling in, and like, what? There was 80 people from this multi-church organization that gets together every once in a while. So it's mostly kids, like teenagers, high school kids. 80 of them. They've never been here before, and they brought food to give away, the donuts and things, but no clothes. So like, I'm like, we've got like 2 bags of clothes. We haven't even opened yet, so we've got nothing for them to organize. I'm like, so I mean, it was fine, but like with my job is to get everybody to work. Like, so there's these 80 people, and then 90 more show up, our normal volunteers. We had 170 people, And which on one hand is so cool. And I tried to make a big point of saying like, dude, this is really encouraging. But it was also stressful for me to try to put everybody to work, or make them feel like you're being productive, because the whole point of First Saturdays is to feel like you get to do something kind and good and then feel good about yourself. So it went okay, and by the end of the experience, I think everybody had a good time, and I got a lot of good feedback. But before we even, so then we go over to the park, and before we set up, there are a few people, this is 3 or 4 women who I tend to have problems with every time. Either they just take tons of stuff that I know it's not for them or their families, I know that they're selling it, or they like push each other, or they just have feuds, and so before we even start setting up, these people are yelling, and they're like, like she did this, and she did this, and she hit my kid, oh, she called me Mexican, and she called me this. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Okay, the women's section, we're not opening it. Everything else, like, welcome for Saturday, this is men's, like everything else, so we start putting everything out on the tables, but I'm like, the women's section isn't gonna open for another 5 minutes, because like, you're on timeout. Like treating them like they're 6, like, no, until no treat until you can stop fighting. And I guess it kind of worked, actually. So maybe they'll know that in the future. That and actually, the woman who 2 months ago pepper sprayed me, she was very like, I think I got through her head, because she actually came up to me and said, I was very well behaved today. I'm like, yes, you were, and I noticed. Thank you. Of course, once you pepper spray a stranger, like, good behavior is a very low bar. So, so that was Saturday midday, and then Saturday night, I went to this event that was a Awesome Fest or A-Fest meetup, where there was 20 speakers, each giving a 10-minute talk, and I gave a talk there that was kind of a new TEDx in process that I'm working on, that I gave a version of that went pretty good. 10 minutes is a little too short for me. I had to really truncate it more than I would have liked. And then I emceed part of the show, and man, there was some really cool speakers, and it was really cool to go to an event. It was at this mansion where there was DJs playing, DJ Leif and David Block, The Human Experience, and it was a silent disco. So everyone had headsets on, and then there were speakers on the other side, meaning speakers, not speakers. And so it was such a cool party, because you had this super high vibration wisdom sharing, as well as dancing and traditional stuff. And they had kombucha on tap, and it was I was thrilled, and it was so cool to connect with a lot of people that in that way. It was kind of like a very like-minded seekers and light workers, and so yeah, it was just and then Sunday was our Pink Heart meeting, and tons of people were stepping up to lead things, and we've got team leaders in place, and it was just super inspiring, and I just had a great weekend. And so when I woke up this morning a little under the weather, I kind of feel like, okay, well, I pushed it pretty hard this weekend, and it was a lot of fun, and maybe I need to rest a little bit now. You can't burn the candle from all 6 ends and still expect to have a puddle of wax that won't burn your buttocks. What? Like I said, I'm a little tired. So, Delicious and I were gonna go see Zoolander 2 last night, but we didn't get out in time. Well, I think that is about all I had to share today. If there's anything on anyone's mind or a question, last week I had the honor and struggle of figuring out what our camp's direct sales list is going to be. So the way it works is established theme camps and art groups. In order for you to get enough people in your camp to the burn to set up, you get a percentage of your tickets kind of guaranteed. And so they give you a list of how many they tell you how many you get, and then you have to submit a list of the people that are going to get those. And then those people get an invite, and then I think this Wednesday, those people can then buy those tickets. But so for my camp, I have currently 75 people registered on and approved on our roster. And I had basically 30 spots, 30 people, 30 of those I could guarantee that they were going to get a ticket. And of course, everybody wants a ticket. So it's a real process of trying to decide who's going to be on the list. So I spent a little time last week going through that and figuring that all out. But it's still definitely a privilege to have those spots for sure. You met up with your Burning Man camp too. What's your project going to be? It's interesting. This year, our camp, some people in our camp are making an art card that's starting to be very exciting, and so it's not a part of Pink Heart technically, but there is a number of people in the camp who are putting their energy into it. Ooh. How do you like my funky top? It's kind of it's kind of got, what's that? Assassin's Creed kind of feel to it. I don't even know what that is. I'm trying to be hip. Maybe I could Snapchat my, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to do Snapchat. Does that make me a bad person or old? I think it just makes me old. Honestly, what's happened was I hadn't showered right before 1 o'clock, and my hair has got total roots, like really bad. So I'm planning on bleaching my hair today or tomorrow, and then re-dyeing it. But when it's like this, it's kind of tough to make it look cool. So I just thought I would figure it all out with a hat. And then once I had a bright white hat on, I'm like, well, now my shirt looks weird. Next thing you know, I'm a anti-ninja. A musical guillotine. That's rad. Cool. I can't wait to see that. What'd you say, Wayne? You've got mold too? What do you know? Snow Ninja, that's right. Well, Snow Ninja is going to disappear and remind you that you're amazing and wonderful and perfect, and I am so blessed and appreciative of being able to spend these moments with you. Thank you for, maybe I'm not sick anymore. Maybe you cured me on a cellular level. You are healers. Take that, medical establishment. Thank you. I love you.